welcome back to the Navy Knitters podcast. My name is Leontine, I'm the face behind the Navy Knitter, and this is my little happy place where I talk about my knitting, my making, and all my other creative endeavors. Welcome back. It's been, I think, 3 weeks since the last episode, and thank you all who left a lovely comment and who left me a little baguette emoji. It was quite a lot of you. Hello Australia, if you're watching. It's so great to know that, yeah, there's people all over the world. Hello California, if I remember right, or Florida, I don't know which one it was. But yeah, welcome back. I'm coming to you this Friday, the 20th of September. It's probably one of the last lovely days we're going to have. It's quite sunny here in our porch in the garden, and yeah, I hope this is not the last time that I can record here, although we've been quite lucky to have this kind of a summer or late summer. And actually I realized that this should be around my 1-year podcast anniversary, and it all started right here, sitting here on this very same place, recording my first ever podcast. So it's been a while, and thank you all for sticking around. It's been quite the journey. Yeah, but I'm loving it. I love reading the comments. I love the interaction I get with each and every one of you. And that's why I'm still here after a year. Yeah, looking for snippets of time to record my little stories. Yeah, so it's Friday, it's in the afternoon. My daughter is in the last grade of primary school here in the Netherlands, and they just went to camp, so they left on Wednesday morning by bike. They went all the way up to Den Helder, exactly the place where I work, and for me the commute by car takes about 50 minutes, and they did it all on bike. So they went there, they took the ferry to the island of Texel in the north, and they spent 2.5 lovely days there, and I just came back from school to pick her up, and now she's tired, but she had the most amazing and wonderful time. And I must admit, it was pretty quiet without her here in the house, so I'm really glad to have her back, and she will probably fall asleep very, very early tonight. Yeah. So, a weird thing happened. I wanted to show you my one and only finished object, and I have misplaced it. I cannot, for the love of God, find it anymore. In the last episode, I showed you 2 sock tubes I was making in kind of, it was Lana Grossa Meilenweit Tweed yarn in a bluish grayish with all the little nips in there. And I finished those, so they went into my gift stash for this friend I told you about, who did now actually buy the house in the south of Germany, so I'm really happy for them. And until now he hasn't watched my episode, so he doesn't know what's going to come his way, but yeah, I have his Christmas gift ready, but I cannot find them anymore. So I made 2 identical tubes. I started at the cuff, I finished at the toe, I kitchen stitched the toe. I haven't put in the heels yet, so it's going to be 2 afterthought heels, and if I remember quite right, he should have about size 43-ish, but yeah, we'll see about that. But yeah, I managed to just misplace my FO somewhere. And then I had something else I've been working on quite solitarily, monogamously, and this is my Cara Wrap. And let me show you where I am on that one. And oh yeah, I'm not wearing anything knitted today. One of the first times, I think, in this podcast ever that I'm not wearing a knit. But it has been about 22, 23 degrees here, and it's just, for my merino knits, it's just about on the warm side, and for my real summer knits, it's just about on the cool side. So yeah, just a plain tee today, and all the shirts I have actually worn in the last episode, so yeah. Maybe next time. Yeah, the Cara Wrap. As I told you, I had the plan to make a wrap, well, sweater, is it a wrap? Yeah, well, a wrap for the longest of times. I was eyeing up the Levitate wrap by My Favorite Things Knitwear and some others, but they weren't quite all the way I wanted them. And then I saw the Cara Wrap make hers, and I was like, oh, please write it up as a pattern, because she did not, it wasn't her intention in the first place to make it a pattern. And then thank God she did. So thank you, Rebecca. And I was very, very lucky. I applied for my second test knit ever, and I got selected again. Yay. And yeah, so I put away all my other plans to knit, and I wanted to make the Cara Wrap with a glittery yarn. And I think I already showed you the swatch last time. The first glittery yarn I had wasn't really my taste when it came to, well, it more looked like disco ball and not kind of the feeling I wanted it to have. So I tried again, and I ordered the first, oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, I had to sneeze. So the first glitter yarn, the glitter thread I used was from Drops, the silver one, and it just gave me like Christmas bauble feelings or disco ball feelings, so it was definitely too much. And then I googled around. I found Creme Casole wool. They had a very nice sparkly yarn, also in black, since I'm making the sweater in black. But then again, it was very expensive to buy that yarn, and it would have made my wrap around 70-80 euros, and I wasn't quite ready to spend all that money on just glittery yarn. And then I googled a little more, and I found this cone. It's by Go Handmade, and it's also very, very sparkly, but it's on a black thread, and this is like half as sparkly as the one from Drops. So I like this way more. And let me show you how far I am, because I got quite far. So you start knitting in the back, then you make the shoulder shaping, and it's very nice. There's short rows in here. Well, I can't show you like this, but there's a little wedge in here, so it kindly folds around your arm better. And then you knit back and forth. The entire thing is knit back and forth. And now I'm, well, way after splitting for the armholes. And you have an integrated I-cord on either side. And now I'm at a space where I start my row, and as you can maybe see, I have two markers in here. It says back loop and FL for front loop, well, like that. So I start the row, I knit the stitches for the I-cord, then I do an increase by making a back loop, then I knit all the way around. When I come to the other side, I make a front loop, and then I do the 3 I-cord stitches. And so every single row, and you do this on the knit side row and on the purl side row. So every single row you increase 2 stitches. So that makes up for a pretty long garment in the end. And the one thing where it got complicated for me was, let me see, while talking I can put it on a barber cord and actually try it on for the very first time. Premiere. I was making it, and Rebecca has these options of including bust shaping and waist shaping. So for me, for almost, I think, everybody who has a C cup or even more, who is blessed with a nice bust, often when I measure myself for garments to figure out the right size, then you take your bust measurement, don't you? Because it's the widest part. But then often you find that if you have like a bigger bust than just a C cup, you find that your garment is you have quite a lot of ease around your waist. and it doesn't always look that nice. So it happened to me with the patterns from Along avec Anna and Petite Knit also, or basically everything that doesn't have any waist shaping. And it looks kind of saggy and, well, not so flattering. So I was quite ecstatic when Rebecca announced from her Tolsta onward that she also wanted to include bust shaping for anybody who needed it to get a better fit. And so I opted, she has 2 bust shaping options. So I'm taking option 1, and you measure it by measuring, well, your top measurement, like from under your armpit around, and then the widest part of your bust. And if the difference is between a certain centimeters, you do option 1. If it's more than a certain centimeters, then you do option 2. And what you do is you increase for your bust shape, and then after the widest part you decrease again. And then she also has the option to do waist shaping, which makes it kind of more figure hugging. And I opted for both bust shaping and waist shaping, and you have to fiddle those in between the rows in the pattern. So she explains pretty well where to put them, but then I had a little trouble understanding how many stitches I had to knit and then do the increase and then continue. But as usual, as always, I must say, there's a lovely group of knitters in the test group, and they were very, very friendly and helped me out. So Sonike, if you're watching, thank you for your patience and trying to explain to me what I had to do, because at some point I was really like, my brain was just in a freeze state and couldn't move back or forth. It couldn't figure it out. And she was so amazing to explain it to me like 4 times or something, until she said, well, you just knit this and then do that. And I was like, what? Is it that easy? I was like thinking it would be way more complicated. And she said, no, it's just that easy. You just overcomplicate things. Well, but in the end I got it. Now I have it on my barber cords, and let me stretch it out a bit and try it on for the very, very first time. I hope it fits. And there goes my needles. Yeah, so let's try it on. And I'm very apprehensive not to lose all my stitches, because I'm knitting this and drops air. And it's not a blown yarn, but a chained yarn, as you say. It looks like somebody crocheted the yarn. And it is a pain in the rear if you lose stitches to fiddle them back up on the needles again. So I'm really apprehensive not to lose the stitches. And actually the barber cord is too small. But this is coming along very, very neat. And this should fit absolutely perfectly. So as you see, my cords are too small because I'm way like this, and it fits just perfectly with the bust increase and decrease. And now I'm doing waist. See the markers here? That's the places where I do the waist shaping. So yay, this is too cool. And something fell down, I don't know what it was. Yeah. Oh no, I'm losing all my stitches. Well, there it happened. I'm taking this back off very carefully. Yeah, so I'm very, very pleased how this is turning out. As I said, it's going to be a pain to get the stitches back, but to make it more clear what I had to do, I just wrote down the regular. These are repeats I did after joining. There's a little birdie in the garden. It's a young blue tit, and I love them. They're so cute. So I wrote down the repeats I had to do. So knit, purl, and at a certain increase I had to do decreases for the bust shaping, So I wrote those down whenever there was a decrease row, because it's at a certain interval. And here you see waist. So I knew that from here on I had to also do the waist shaping decreases at another marker. And now I have this schedule. So I'm now halfway of the length. I'm also making the longer version. I have to do 48 repeats of back and forth. So knit row, pull row. And every time there's a little circle, I do a decrease for the waist shaping. So I know exactly in what row I need to do what. And this is very, for me, it works to keep track of where I am and what I need to do in that row. So right now it's row 28. It's a knit row without any special thing to do. And I'm knitting this entire thing on, let me see, on these needles. And these are cubic, wooden cubic needles. And it's the, hello, 4mm US 6. And I just love these. I mean, it feels kind of like betrayal to my trusty Chaogu needles. But these are very lovely. And it's not a too long cord. I think this is 60 centimeters. So it gets quite crowded on my needles now, because every row there's 2 loops increase. But these knit like a bliss. So I think these are Knit Pro cubics. Not sure. But yeah, I really love these. And these give me, through their form, a really crisp stitch definition. I don't know if it's the needles or the yarn or if it's the interaction between both. But I really love those. And yeah, as I said, I'm trying to pick up stitches, because now my brain is like screaming, no, you have to pick up the stitches. So let me try and talk whilst I try to rescue the mess I made. So as I said, I've been knitting on this quite monogamously. We do have pretty long to finish this project. And let me explain. We have until November, the first week of November, I think. 6th, maybe? Am I right? And for those of you who do not know Rebecca, which is, can't imagine that you don't know Rebecca from the Crayabea. But she only got into designing because she was very vocal about size inclusivity. And at some point she said, well, being vocal about it is one thing, but then it's only fair that I design something to actually find out how much more work it is to actually be what it means to be designing something in a size inclusive way. So she did her first design and never stopped, actually. She wasn't really planning on becoming a designer in the beginning, but as she said, well, I'm always preaching about being size inclusive, that it matters and that it's important, but I can actually only speak from experience if I design something myself. And so she did, and never stopped since, which I really like. And so this pattern comes in a variety of sizes, and as I said, also a variety of options to make the garment really fit on your, well, to your figure. So with or without bust shaping, there's 2 bust shaping options. Then she has a waist shaping option. And as I said, it's an option. So you get multiple garments in one, I would almost say. There's other designers who release, like, they have a round neck and a V-neck, and they make it 2 separate patterns, which you have to pay for twice. And it's seriously, every time Rebecca knocks out a pattern, there's 5 options: V-neck, round neck, anything. You can make it a vest, you can make it a pullover, you can, I don't know. So she makes it a whole collection for the price of one. She's such a sweet girl. Yeah, but I like the way she designs it. It's like made for me, for my body, and I really like her way of writing down patterns. I understand them really, really well, and so I'm just a huge fan. Let me say that. And it also helps that in one of her earlier podcasts, I learned that she lived in the Netherlands for a few years. And she also speaks Dutch still. So I don't think you're watching this, Rebecca. But if you're watching it, dankjewel voor alles wat je doet. En ik ben echt een reuze fan. En ja, te leuk. Dus mijn complimenten aan jou. So, for a little Dutch in between. So whilst I try to rescue the stitches and put them back from the cord onto my needles, yeah, I will put in, or actually I have put in a stitch marker since I recorded the Dutch episode before this one. And I'm now going to do that from here onwards, that I put progress keepers in all my projects and all my whips, so I can keep track of how much I knitted in between the episodes. So I will leave that one in. Oh, I think that, oh no, it's there. I will leave it in, and I hope that in about 2 weeks' time I will record another episode. Let me see. So this is back on. So I put this little autumny marker in here. I think I bought this at the Breidagen last year at steekmarkeerders.nl. So it's a lovely autumny progress keeper. I keep this one in, and then I will show you next time how far I got. So I still have about 20, yeah, exactly 20 rows. So 10 rows to knit, 10 rows to purl. Yeah. Is it? Yeah. And then you finish off by doing a ribbing, and then I have to decide if I want to do the fitted sleeves, or she actually was thinking, or somebody else in the test group was making a balloon sleeve. Could also be nice, but I don't know if I have enough yarn for that. So let me think about that. But I want to finish this. Oh yeah, I got completely distracted on telling you about this test knit and the time we get, because Rebecca is now also, since she's very size inclusive, she also said, well, I want to respect the knitters of the larger sizes by giving them enough time, because you can imagine that double XS knits up way faster with 2 balls of yarn, and if you have a 3XL, it takes a lot more yarn and a lot more time because you have more or less double the garment to knit. So she also stretched all her test knits to 12 weeks, which is really, really, really lovely, I think. Almost anybody should be able to make a garment in that period of time. So also if you're a slow knitter and you haven't done any test knits, maybe start out with one of Rebecca's patterns, because she's really lovely and the group is really, really helpful. So enough compliments for Rebecca and the test knit. But yeah, it's so lovely. And I have to spend another day in hospital with my daughter at the beginning of October. She has another of her allergy tests. This will be the last one for now. But this will mean that we have to report to the hospital at 7:30 in the morning, and we're being released somewhere in the afternoon, just in case she doesn't have a severe allergic reaction, because then we have to stay a certain amount of hours after the reaction wears off. And it's always I always have a bit of mixed feelings doing this with her and to her, but she showed a slight reaction to sesame when I used tahine last time when I made a soup. And now we want to check if it's just a mild reaction or if it gets more severe. And it's for her and for us to know that if we should take better attention to where we put sesame in or not. And just, yeah, to have confirmation if it's just mildly, if she's just mildly allergic, or if she really should really take good care to not get too much sesame in her food. Yeah, but then again, it's knitting time. It's for her a lot of Netflix time, and she will probably take her crocheting. She got a crochet set in summer from the camping owners, but to the campsite we went to. Really lovely. So she wants to learn how to crochet. So she will probably take that, and I will take my knitting. And it's either the sleeves, I hope by then, of the Cara Wrap, or another whip, which has been, well, it's not hibernating, but how do you call summernating? Well, I put it to the side because it was definitely too hot for Rauma Fino to knit with, because it's a rustic warm yarn. This is the first humble beginning of my festive yoke sweater, which I started as a Christmas cast on or birthday cast on, I can't remember, in December. I see that this color is really not working well with the color on my nails. I should hide them. Yeah, this is going to be my festive yoke sweater, and I really want to have this finished in December. But since it's just the beginning and it's all over color work, I should really put some time into this. Yeah, so it's either the Cara, and once I finish that, it will be all hands on deck to finish this baby. I have my progress keeper. I will put it in somewhere around the cord. There it is. And next time I will show you how much progress I actually made on this one. And then I have one more. That is actually the only more or less summer knit I have on my needles by now. Another sock tube, and this is going to be an endless sock tube in a yellowy speckly color. I started with the cuff, knit to purl to, I think 64 stitches, I think, if I remember quite right. And then it's just merrily going in the round. And I'm going to finish 3/4 of the ball just to make the tube, split it in two, make the toes, make the heels, and then I have another summer set. And this is why I said summer knit. This is knit in the Regia cotton color in the color Springtime Mood. It's a lovely squishy yarn, and this is with 72% cotton, 18% poly, and 10% polyamide, and 10% polyester, and it feels really great. My kids have these kiwi socks from the same type of yarn. This one actually now lives in my car, and this is a school pickup knit. So sometimes people ask me, how do you manage to knit that much, having more or less a full-time job and a family and a household to run? But it's these stolen moments, these 5 minutes I have to wait before my kids run out of school, or my youngest, the eldest, is going by bike. I managed to knit 2 rounds. Sometimes when a bridge is open and I'm in the car or in a traffic jam. And, well, traffic jam before bridge, so it's really stopping and waiting until, you know, I managed to get 2 or 3 rounds in. It's all those tiny stolen moments where I just can 1 or 2 rounds. And if you add up all those 5 minutes during a whole week, then all of a sudden you get a whole sock tube. So that's it. So instead of mindlessly scrolling around on Instagram, watching reels or on TikTok, I just grab my needles and my project and try to, well, get 1 or 2 rounds in. This is basically how I roll. Then I have one more whip, which hasn't gotten any attention in between. This is the very beginning of the northeasterly blanket. And I also put a progress keeper on that one. As you see it, the little heart. So this hasn't gotten any progress yet. I just use this a lot to measure out the DPNs for my DPN cozies. But I have a lot of yarn ends, odd ends in here. And finally, my last whip in this Pearl Soho bag, because it's a Pearl Soho yarn. And that is the linen quill in the color, I guess this was oatmeal. Pretty sure it was. Yeah, oatmeal gray. This is my half and half triangles wrap. And I am more or less halfway through my short rows. So I these are the ones I still need to do, and these I've already done. So you get this nice, really pointy bit already. I take these to the stables a lot, and it's just somehow knowing that I'm over halfway with the short rows, and every turn the rows get shorter. It's really a motivation to keep going on this one. I bought the yarn 2 years ago when we were in New York City visiting friends, and from time to time I pick it up, and then I have this whole streak of knitting on it a lot, and then it goes back into its bag, and then I take it back out again. But yeah, recently I've done quite a lot on this one. And the next color is going to be a pink like this, and it will make a nice statement shawl blanket, I think, once we go into autumn. But this is not my priority. This is really just an in-between knit, because I really want this festive yoke to be finished. I will put in the Progress Keeper. It's a little sheep from Emma Ball. I'm pretty sure I bought these in Exeter at Wool on the X. And so this next time I can show you how far I got. I think a quarter into the new ball of yarn, so I have 2 of each color, which I keep in my cozies so they don't fall apart. This is quite loosely wound up, so I'm knitting it from the middle. Yeah, so I'm I think a quarter into my second ball of yarn, and then I have 2 pink ones left. So, and then I have one last thing to share, but now I have to change up the setting because I have a battery pack attached to my phone. Yeah, it's holding up. There is a lovely lady living in our street, and she sent around a WhatsApp message to, well, most of the people who live in the street are in this WhatsApp group to inform each other whenever there's something everybody should know. And she asked, well, everybody who has children, would they be interested in getting to know how you come from a fleece that's shared of a sheep all the way until you have your ball of yarn to knit with, or a garment? Because she has 2 spinning wheels, and she often processes like fleeces all the way down to knitwear. And I said, well, my children can't be bothered, but I really would like to have a go at spinning. And so I went over, we had a lovely cup of tea, and she taught me the very beginnings of spinning. It wasn't a very successful story, I must say, but we had the loveliest time. It's so bloody hard. It really was. I like the rhythmical process and of treadling and doing, but my hand-eye coordination, or my eye-hand-foot coordination is like not the best. But we had a lot of fun. We had a lovely evening and a lovely chat. And it reminded me that I still have this little thingy. This tin is a second-hand tin. I bought it last year at the Breidagen, and here in the Netherlands, it's next weekend. It's the next edition of the Breidagen, so the knitting days, I would say. So it's a big 2-day event with a lot of yarn vendors and everything. And last year at the Breidagen, I did this workshop where I learned how to do the very first beginnings on a Turkish spindle. And this is actually everything I have done since last year. So I'm still on the practice ends that I got together with my spindle. And it's a handmade wooden one. Really lovely. Made by Studio Spindle. And I wouldn't say I forgot about it, but if I have to choose between spinning and knitting, I usually go for the knitting and don't spin that much. But once I do it, it's really hypnotical almost, because you have this motion of the spinning, and it's really rhythmic, and it's really calming and great. And I want the yarn actually it makes. So this is a tiny turtle I'm getting, but I'm impressed with how thin it is, and I still have to ply it at some point. But I have all this practice yarn left to go. And the same evening, so we finished talking, and I was a bit spinning on my spindle. Maybe I can just, I don't know, let's leave it on the table. This is not going well. So of course I had a hyper focus on spinning. So once I got back home, we were lying in bed and I was looking at well, the equivalent of the Dutch eBay and Facebook Marketplace for spinning wheels. And yeah, I kind of had a hyper focus for that. Thank God I didn't find any spinning wheels within reasonable price point around here. So just further away. And then I really asked myself in the morning, well, I guess that it's new and that it sparks your interest and that you want to have a spinning wheel, but does it make your heart jump to sit behind a spinning wheel now and leave your knitting? Because right now the knitting really brings me such amount of joy, and I would have to choose between the two. So one of the two would get attention, the other not. Do I really want that at this point in time? I won't say that I will never own a spinning wheel, but right now I just have limited time to knit and to do, well, I see knitting as a form of self-care. Do I really want to add a spinning wheel into it, knowing that I already have this one? So I already have something to spin with. And wouldn't it be more satisfying to actually use this little pretty thingy instead of buying another spinning wheel? And so I discarded the idea of owning a spinning wheel for now. I want to first focus more on spinning with my Turkish spindle because it's just perfect. So I really want to hand spin. I wouldn't say that a spinning wheel is not hand spun, but a handheld spindle. To encourage myself to actually spin more, I did watch a lot of YouTube videos from Shanti Manu. It's a German hand spinner. And she also does a lot with spindles with a whortle. So it's like a stick and you have this weight that attaches, that's detachable on the basis of it. And it's like kind of a Viking way of spinning. And she mentioned the shop, and I found that shop. It's from Germany and they have this lovely sticks and different weights of whortles. So I treated myself to a little spinning package to just encourage myself to use my hand spindles a little more. And maybe next time you will see or the unboxing or my first tries at using that spindle. But I definitely want to spin more. And next Friday, a week from now, I'm going to the Breidagen. I was actually hesitating if I wanted to go. Last year it was in Zwolle. It's still about 1 hour, 45 minutes drive from here. Now it's in Nijkerk. It's west of Utrecht, so still in the middle of the country. It still takes me 1.5 hours to drive there. But I heard from, and I don't need any yarn, but well, who needs yarn? Like, I have a stash that's almost like a wool shop in itself. So I don't want to go to specifically buy more yarn, but I know some people who will be there, also some YouTubers YouTuber, that sounds really fancy, but some lovely ladies who have their own YouTube channels on knitting, and they will be there on Friday also. And one is all the way from the south in the Netherlands. I have a lot of interaction with her, with Ineke from Luna Knits. She also designs sock patterns, and she said, well, I will be on the Breidagen on Friday. Then I heard that Kralalin will maybe be there, and I met her last year at the Breidagen, and she also said, well, I'm thinking of going on Friday. So at least for those two said, okay, if I have the option to have a chat with you, then I will go to the Breidagen. And if it's only to see those two lovely ladies again and have a chat, maybe a coffee or a tea, and maybe I will allow myself to buy some spinning fiber. And I have one project I fell in love with. It's the, how is it called? The Shifty by Andrea Maury. If I manage to find a spin cycle-ish yarn, I don't want to go for the spin cycle because I don't want to invest like half a rib, an arm and a leg. But if I can find the right Zauberball, maybe I could maybe be persuaded by myself to buy myself some yarn to make a shifty. But I don't know that for sure. And I just want to walk around, and my focus will be on meeting people and connecting with people. But maybe it's not the big fair like that. It's not the real ideal place to really meet and connect. But then I'm also taking part in an event organized by another handcrafter, by Trouda Baas. And she does these days that she calls, well, if you translate it literally, it's connecting days. So she organizes this day in a lovely venue, in an old cheap shed. And she usually has around 25 to 30 people who meet, everybody brings a little bite to eat, and you have this big buffet, like a potluck lunch, and you just connect. And she is very artistic with words, and she writes these kind of lyrical poems and has a theme and gives you those little sparks to think about and to muse about. And I heard a lot of her previous days. It's the 9th time she will organize it. Usually they're sold out pretty fast because it's just very lovely. At least is what I hear from people. So I was lucky enough that I had the time and I got a spot. So I'm really much looking forward to it. And if you take the Dutch word for meeting, it's ontmoeten. And if you dissect the word ontmoeten, it has a double meaning, because moeten is to must. So if you must do something. So it's on the one hand, if you say the entire word, it's ontmoeten is the same as connecting or meeting people. And if you write it with a little dash in between, ontmoeten, it means not needing to do something. So just calm down, de-stress, not putting pressure on yourself to not must do stuff, not being obliged to do stuff. And I think she has very nice double meaning to it. And I'm very much looking forward to it, even if it's, again, quite an hour and a half drive to go there. And there will be 2 other people I watch YouTube podcasts of who do it in, well, one, Knitting Inden, also has a Dutch podcast. She's from an area where my father comes from, or originates from. And Livia Lise is her first name, and she has a web shop, livia.nl. And I also enjoy her videos enormously, and they both will be at the Ontmoetdag I'm going to in October. I hope that I can film a bit and take you along. And then of course we have the big festival, 23rd of November, the Knit to Purl to Festival, the very first yarny crafty festival in the Netherlands. And I was ecstatic that Knitting Traditions will be there. That I think Knitting Traditions Inga, it was the very first handicraft podcast I ever watched. And I think I stumbled on her because I was in Norway a lot with my Navy ship. We went to Bergen, to Bodø, to Stavanger, and I was just looking up yarn stores. And somehow, when Googling on YouTube, searching on YouTube, I somehow found her podcast, and I found Inge. Oh, my son is calling me. And there we are again. The doorbell just rang. And I said, boy in the neighborhood who always comes along every Friday and sells eggs. And we always have his eggs. Where was I? Oh yeah, the Knit to Purl to Festival. Inge from Knitting Traditions is going to be there. Lerka from Fiber Tales is coming, and Jana from Finnish Knitting Stories. There will be a lot of, the focus is not on booths that sell yarn or crafty related stuff, but really to have a forum, have a venue, have a place where people can really connect. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. They just hosted a make-along, a Knit to Purl to make-along. And I was already thinking of what am I going to make for this. It's not like Rhinebeck where they have a certain design that everybody makes or everybody wants to make, but the organizer of the festival, the birth mother of the festival, it is a Sarah, who has also a podcast in both Dutch and English here. She is the birth mother, the founder of the Knit to Purl to Festival. And to announce her festival, she made these socks, ribbed socks, and all the way up on the cuff it says K2P2. And I was thinking, I want to wear my Adidas Samba shoes with a... It's crazy that I'm already thinking about the outfit I want to wear, but I want to wear my Adidas Sambas, and I have ones with red stripes, so kind of a burgundy color, and a denim skirt, and maybe or possibly my Cara Wrap, because then I would have dark on top, and then I would wear something knitted. I can take it off and have something underneath, which I might have time for to knit or not, I don't know. And then the socks with the K2P2 in the exact same color as the stripes on my shoes. And I might have Googled the entire internet and searched for hours for transparent boots, like wellies. I've seen them somewhere. Some shop must once sold them so that you could really show off your knitted socks, because I still have to knit the socks from Stone Knit with the Jardinière socks, which would have the right color of cuff, but then I cannot show off the colorwork because it would disappear in my shoe. Yeah, I don't know. A lot to think about, but then again, 23rd of November is still way back. Well, long time until then. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So connecting and meeting people will be the theme of this autumn, I think. And to stay in the theme, I had, did I show you last time that I had this collaboration with Leap Yarns? She's a hand dyer from the Netherlands. She dyed skeins of yarn in autumny colors, and I made the matching project bag to go with it. And we had 12 sets. She had 6 and I had 6. And we launched them just after last video. And I think we sold out in 2 days. And I even have somebody from Australia. Hello, Barbara. I hope the package has arrived by, well, I hope so. It takes a long time from the Netherlands to Australia. But the lovely Barbara, with a big shout out to her YouTube, Bondi Crafter, she also gifted herself a sock set. How lovely is that? And yeah, I have 1 set left. So if there's anybody, maybe you're still lucky, just drop me a message, and you find it on my Instagram, and it's 32.50 in euro plus the shipping costs, depending on where you live, of course. Yeah, so we did that. And oh yeah, I was really interested in where you all actually come from. So if you're watching this, could you drop me an emoji of the flag of the country you are now staying in or living in? Yeah, not where you come from, but yeah. Please, if you watched this far, put in a comment here beneath and write down where you're actually watching this from. I would be very, very interested. I know that there's somebody from New Zealand. I know that there's a lovely Barbara from Australia. As I said, my husband has family from Australia. His grandpa was Australian. I have somebody from Florida or California. Can't remember, one of the two. A lady who immigrated there from the Netherlands. Yeah, I know Ina is probably watching from Norway. At least I hope so. Greetings to you, Ina. Yeah, so I can have a guess where, well, I can have a picture of where you all come from. It would be great to know. But yeah, I was talking about meeting people, and that's the focus. So last year, when we shipped the packages, somebody from the Netherlands, who I hope to meet next Friday, she also has this YouTube channel, and I made her a name badge. So this would be mine. You see the logo of the Navy Knitter, and I added my first name, Leontine. And I made a badge like this with her logo of her YouTube channel. So her name is Luna Knit. So I put that on the badge and I put it in her order as kind of a gift. And because I knew she would be at the Breidagen, and so people can see that she actually is the one from YouTube, and she has her logo. And I thought maybe it would encourage people more to walk up to you and just talk to you if they see your name and that's actually the confirmation, that's actually the person they think you are. So I put this one and its tiny brother on Etsy with the option to have your own logo on there or your own design. But I also made some templates with wool around, like a circle, and where you can insert your name, or with a yarn ball you can put your name in. And I have them both in big and small, and they're now in my Etsy web shop. And if I have the time, somewhere in between all my creative endeavors, I will also design some. So I have made one with the Dutch text, like I knit myself happy, and in Dutch it would say brei je blij, because it rhymes. And so I will put some designs up there too. So if you ever wanted to have your own badge with your name on, or with something else on, could be anything, then you know where to find it. It's in my Etsy shop. Yeah, and now it's actually time I have to make my kids dinner, and I think, well, I first have to see if my daughter is still awake. I'm going to bake some pancakes and then probably put them in a nice hot bath and off to bed. And yeah, then I have a quiet evening and have some rounds of my Cara Wrap. I wish you all a very, very lovely weekend, a nice week to come, and yeah, would love to hear from you. If you're watching this and you're not already a member of my channel, I would really much appreciate if you could click the little bell that is down there, because it helps to get my channel out there to others. It doesn't cost you anything, and you just get a little notification once there's a new video from me. And if you would give me a thumbs up. Well, hope to see you next time again, and until then, stay safe and have a lovely creative time. Bye bye.